Welcome back, guys, to Trails Through Daybreak. Well, last episode, the November 30th sweep continued through the Black Light District where we spotted Jack and Hal, as well as a brawl taking place near the arena, with some more friends having taken down some harassing men. We then checked out most of Riverside before returning to Station Street's Orbal Store Iota, ready to take on the Dingo-related 4SPG. You really did come. Not that I didn't trust Dingo at all. My name's Van Arkride. I take it you're Mel's editor-in-chief. Yep, that's me. Me and Dingo go back about 7 years. Told me a lot about you. Sounds like you were real busy over in Arasion too. No clue what you're on about. I thought there would be no reports about us being involved with it. There won't. The authorities are keeping it a secret. Dude's probably just saying that to get under our skin. Well, whatever. It's not getting an article, so I'm not interested. I called you here for one of those 4 SPGs of yours. Nothing more, nothing less. The gist of it is that I want you to help me look for Dingo's notebook. Oh? What's this about? You suspect he had a notebook containing information he'd gathered as a reporter, or more like as an information dealer? Both, actually. I first heard about it a few weeks ago, just before he headed off to Cray. I could tell he was chasing a dangerous scoop of some kind, so I jokingly asked if he had a will ready yet. Oh. And look at us now. Didn't really occur to me, not even for a second, that this would happen to him just 4 days later. He laughed at it at the time and said one thing to me. The closest thing I have to a will is my notebook. I've left it with a trusted source, so if anything happens to me, send out a 4 SPG about it. Wait a second. So this is the third memento of his on top of the video and camera. We don't have that notebook ourselves, though. Sorry if that's what you were hoping for. Oh, I never thought you did, but I suspect you're the only one who can track it down. Dingo seemed to trust you more than anyone, so I suspect that's the way he wanted it to play out too. The authorities have got everything that happened in Cray down on lock, and Armata are dead and gone, so I can't imagine it'd have anything worth writing an article about in it to begin with, which means it's not worth my while hunting down. But I can't just go and ignore his words about it. So here we are. I'll put up the money for you to find this thing. My last gift to him. So what's it going to be, Spriggan? You going to go find Dingo's notebook or not? I think I should. I do want to. It is the required quest. It's super important. If this moves on the story, we're going to have to come back with a save, which will be very annoying. But hopefully it won't, because usually when we complete every 4 SPG, we get an extra bit. So we should still have time? Is what I'd imagine. We'll take the job. You got anything else you want to share? Maybe he said something more about this trusted source of his, for example. Yeah, I remember telling him that was nowhere near enough info to find the thing myself. Only hint he gave me was that it's with people who know about as much about my past as you do. Way to pique my interest. I wonder what Dingo's past was like. Only heard bits of it myself. How much do you know? Even less than you do, I suspect. I know he used to live in Meseldam before ending up in the capital 7 years ago. That's about it. Wait, didn't Dantes act like he knew him?
It's been some time since we last met, Dingo Brad. Though we did cross paths in Tharbad, albeit briefly. If we exclude that little encounter, I haven't seen you since your days as a mere informant in Meseldam.
Yeah, and you were still Enrique's second in command back then.
He said something along those lines when they were talking in that video too. Alright, we'll see what we can dig up with that info then. Good luck. Anyway, my break's over. I've got to get back to work on finding scoops for the festival. I'll give you my number. Just give me a call if you do find it. I'll wire you the money if you do. It'll be my way of honoring Dingo's death. Got it. We'll take it from here. So what's the plan here? We don't exactly have a load of info to go off of. Only clue we have is that it's someone that knows as much about Dingo as that guy does. That rules out Jack and Bermotti, and Van, obviously. Oh, and Ren too. Yeah, any information dealer's probably out the question here, so is anyone with as many connections as Ren has. Jack, Bermotti and I tried not to pry into his past either, mind you. But something must have happened between Dingo and Dantes while he was still in Meseldam. He left the city after whatever that was, ending up in the capital and becoming a reporter right after. Don't know any details, but imagine we'll get out of this knowing a whole lot more than we came in with. We're going to be unearthing what he tried to bury this whole time. All the burdens he carried by himself. Van, you don't look like you're about to back down, though. No way. A job's a job, and I'm nothing if I can't see this kind of shit through. But anyway, I can think of at least one person who fit the bill for this job that won't be a pain in the ass to meet up with. Oh? It's not an information dealer, mind you, but she was close to Dingo. I can't be the only one who immediately thought of her. Oh! I suspect I see who you mean now. A rookie reporter who's still unwise to the ways of the underworld. Are we going to meet her then? Yeah, let's head on over to the Tyrell Times. Don't think a meeting with her will be all that hard to get as long as she's not out of the office. Right. Oh, damn it, that bastard up and left us with a bill. Gotta be pretty sly if you're gonna be running the biggest gossip rag in the country. Well, it's the least we could do for him since he brought this to our attention. How much says that gonna run me? I don't forgive him either. To the Tyrell Times.
Let's get going.
How dare you?
Well, I heard.
Oh, hey guys. Good to see you again. Need something with a paper. Not this time. We came in to talk to you, Marielle. I'll give it to you straight. We're working on a 4SPG involving Dingo and need your help. What? You are? What sort of request is it? Please tell me. To put it simply... You talked to Mel's editor-in-chief, Mr. Cunning. That's his name. Dingo told me about him before, but I've never had the chance to meet him in person. He said he wants you to find Dingo's notebook. That's right. Do you remember Dingo ever talking to you about that thing, by any chance? Doesn't have to be anything direct or explicit. Anything you happen to remember him saying will help. Actually, we didn't just talk about it before. I've seen that notebook with my own eyes. Say what? How did that happen? As I'm sure you will notice, when he was alive, I tended to barge in on him when he was trying to work and stuff. One day while we were having lunch, I was asking for advice on how to interview people, and he was writing stuff in this black leather notebook. I asked him what it was, since I was curious. He told me it's where he jots his info down, both for his reporting work and info broker stuff. That certainly sounds like what we're looking for. At least now we know it's real. I got a little whiny and tried to get him to show me his notes, but of course he refused. When I got huffy about it, he kind of laughed and patted me on the head. I still remember exactly what he said. Who knows, maybe you'll get a peek at them one of these days, although if I play my cards right, you shouldn't ever have to. Oh wow. He must have already been preparing for what might happen to him in that case. If that's the way he was talking, then we could probably rule out him taking the notebook with him to Cray. CID also apparently swept through his place and couldn't find any real material of note that he left there either. He had to have either given it to someone else to hang on to or stashed it somewhere for safekeeping. Which brings me to my next question. Can you think of anyone he would have left that notebook with, or anyone who might know where it would be? Again, it's okay if you don't know anything definitive. Any leads you might have would be great. And just to be clear, I don't mean other brokers like Bramotti. I'm talking about other sorts of acquaintances he had. Right, of course. Let me think. Based on what Mr. Cunning told you... Wait, could he have... You think of something? Maybe. I could be completely wrong, but I can't rule it out either. Basically, when Dingo was alive, he would sometimes cover, the adult industry for Meld magazine. He did. That's interesting. I guess that comes with being a tabloid reporter. What's the adult industry? Does every industry have adults in it? It's code for grown-up stuff. Certainly more grown-ups than his wannabe protege here, that's for sure. Anyway, one time I confronted him about it. Do you really have to cover such sexual stuff in your articles? If readers demand it, it's our job as reporters to give them what they want, plain and simple. Plus, it's a way to get information that can help shut down some of the nastier illegal places run by the Mafia. Oh, okay, I guess that makes sense. Say, out of curiosity, do you ever visit those sort of places yourself? Huh? Only when I need to for work. Lately, I've been too busy to go to any places like that myself, so I had to lean on one of my old contacts a lot to get what I need. That's misconstrued, isn't it? Not exactly ideal when my job is supposed to be to report on things I see myself, but it is what it is. But fair enough, I guess. You sure won't hear me complaining about you. Complaining about what? Nothing at all. Anyway, who's this contact you mentioned? Her, she's a woman who operates underground, runs a handful of outlets. Pretty talented, all things considered. She? Your contact is a woman? Yeah, what does that matter? You've got to introduce me to her. It'll help me write better news articles, yeah! Unfortunately, Dingo said it was too soon for me to be going to a place like that, and that was that. Looking back on it, there's only one part of town he could have meant when he said she worked underground, huh? Yeah, I think that one goes without saying. Not only that, I think I just might know the woman she's talking about. Never would have guessed those two had any history, but it just goes to show it's a small world we live in. I certainly remember there being a business that fit the bill when we were down there. Does that mean we're going to the Blacklight District? Yeah, who knows if we'll turn anything up down there, but it's worth a shot.
Hey, you guys? I want to go with you. Could I, please?
I expected as much. I don't know. Yeah, it gets kind of dangerous in the Blacklight District. I already know how dangerous it can be, believe me. We're talking about Dingo's notes here. What's inside them matters to me too, you know.
Who knows? Maybe you'll get a peek at them one of these days. Although if I play my cards right, you should never have to.
She does have a point. What do you think, Van? Alright, you can come. You did give us some valuable info, so it's only fair. We gotta promise two things. One, you'll stay behind us down there. No running ahead. Two, you'll carry your own weight and help us out too. Deal? Deal. Thanks, Van. I promise you won't regret this. Marielle has temporarily joined the group. I so hope this isn't
Let's
moves
get
everything
going.
on. I think we'll be fine. I'm confident.
Guess I'll check out the arena.
But it does make sense for Dingo to have this in his contact
Boss is
list.
gonna yell at you.
Especially when you've got presidents of companies visiting it and all.
Wanna get a drink together?
Can we talk?
Oh, it's you. You know, I thought I knew you well, but I had no idea you and Dingo went so far back. Level with me here. You were the one helping him investigate our master's illegal adult business, weren't you? Ah, yeah, that's right. We must have worked together for, a decade, I want to say. We both had to keep it on the down low in order to operate freely, though. He and I had known each other since we were both up in Meseldam. That long, huh? Guess that makes sense. If you don't mind me asking, how did the two of you, meet? Oh, it wasn't anything special. He was a newly minted intel broker, and I was your common whore making ends meet out on the streets. We had a nice little thing going. He'd buy information I coaxed from my clients, and I'd do him some favors in kind. He scratched my back, I scratched his. This is all news to me. Can we assume that Dingo hadn't started doing any reporting work back then? More or less, I will say for an errand boy working underground, he had a certain naivety to him back then. Maybe because he was still so young. I had an acquaintance who worked at a local paper. I remember he was pretty intrigued about that side of things. I'll also mention it was 8 years ago when I made the move to Edith and set up shop down here. But before I left, he gave me some top secret information as a parting gift. His intel and his connections have been a huge help to me. Leave it to the lady killer to schmooze his way into the underground. He really helped a lot of people while he was alive, didn't he? Later on, after everything went down in Meseldam, that's when he ended up drifting into town. Personally, I was happy to see him make a clean break and get into a better line of work with better people. You never know what life has in store for you. Maybe the goddess took a liking to him and threw him a bone. Maybe so, yeah. Sorry to interject, but what happened to him in Meseldam? I didn't know anything about that. I wish I could tell you, honey, but it's not really my place to say. That all happened after I left, so I only heard things through the grapevine. But I won't leave you empty-handed. If you're looking for his notebook, I've got some information I'd be happy to share. Really? You do that? Oh, thank you so much. Just to clarify, we're looking for this black leather notebook he used to carry around. You've seen it before, I take it. Sure have. You've been looking for a place to stash it, oh hey. I offered to hold on to it myself, but he turned me down. Can't blame him for being so cautious when he was going up against Almata. But I did hear him mutter about asking someone for help on his way out of town for a piece. That was 3 days before everything went down in Cray, for reference. Holy cow, what timing! On his way out of town, huh? That's rather specific. That's a valuable clue there. Actually, now that she mentions it, how did Dingo get to Cray? Do you have any ideas, Van? He had this tiny-ass car, but he never drove it all that much. He was always paranoid of people following him. Usually he took a train or a bus when he had to go out to the sticks. Probably flew a bit from time to time too. There was no train out there? Well, I don't know what he did here. Same. We're talking about a guy who knew all their tricks by that point. He might as well have just been moving randomly. He sure as hell wouldn't take something as obvious as public transit. Not when Armata had eyes everywhere. Exactly. I think we can rule out his own car too. That would have carried its own risks. Thinking realistically, he probably would have rented a car, hitched on a truck, taken a taxi, ridden an orbital bike. Oh, you mean a motorbike. Well, I don't think he would have hitchhiked. I don't think he'd have rented a car if he didn't drive that much anyway and didn't like it. I don't know if he knows how to ride a bike. The easiest option of all of this is take a taxi. Though I imagine that'd be fairly expensive. I don't know what the costs are. But we're likely to find the book we're looking for with one of these things, I'd imagine, considering we're given a choice. And the only one of these things I know is ever present, or at least there has been a very noticeable one in the game the entire time, is a taxi. Is it that guy? Did he mention anything like that? I'm trying to figure out if he said anything. I haven't seen him for a bit. Where is he currently? I'd say he'd probably take a taxi, because again, we only have an NPC that is taxi out of all those options. I think chances are pretty good our guy took a taxi. Sure as hell ain't cheap, but it'd have given him the lowest profile and the most flexibility. They blend right in on the road. Oh, good thinking. Unless it's that guy's taxi. That guy's taxi doesn't blend in at all. You might be onto something, Van. Taxis are pretty commonplace, especially for people heading out of town. There's no way Armada could have been monitoring every single taxi running in Edith. If that's what he did, he likely opted to ride with a self-employed driver rather than somebody working for a company. That does make sense. That would have allowed him to move much more erratically, thereby throwing Armata off his trail. Sounds like you guys have your next lead. I have no idea who the driver could be, unfortunately. Maybe it was one of his friends. My guess is he had a driver he hired on the regular. Someone he could trust. That ring any bells for you, sweetheart? Oh, you know something? It actually does. I remember Dingo would sometimes hail a taxi to get to a reporting site. He mostly took one that had this black and yellow checkered pattern around the bottom. The driver was an eccentric guy too, from what I recall. Oh wow, that's really good info. Glad you were able to remember that. You said it. I'll have to look into that once we're done here. Anyway, thanks for the chat, mistress. I'll pay you back sometime. Yes, thank you so much. You have no idea how grateful I am. Oh, don't mention it. I owe Dingo that much. That said, you can always repay me by coming back here to play, you know? Don't forget that. But yeah, Dingo would tell me stories about you two sometimes. The punk-ass Spriggan and the newbie reporter he had befriended. I do hope you're able to track down his notebook. If there's anybody out there that he'd want to inherit it, I have to imagine it'd be you two. Thank you, we'll do our very best. We're sure as hell gonna try. Be a waste to just let it go after doing all this work for it. A taxi with a black and yellow checkered pattern. I know exactly which one that is. I had no idea Dingo was a regular in it. I see that car out by Central Station a lot. Driver's probably out for lunch right now though. Let's check the food store first, see if we get lucky. Yep. Process of elimination. How many taxis have we ever seen? Well, how many of those modes of transport have we actually seen where there's someone related to it? There's someone related to buses, I guess. But that guy takes buses. He doesn't run buses. Where did you tell me to go next? Let's check the food stalls. Probably out for lunch. Often see him in Central Station area.
May we be on our way.
We don't have any food stalls out there currently, so there's Riverside and then there's the Alba district. So you saying that I should check Shino?
Confirming your schedule.
Or maybe it's the guy near the site. Maybe it's near Sidon.
Then let's head over.
There's a food stall there in the corner. Have I seen him there before? Well, there's the blooming taxi.
That's fair.
Guess it makes more sense for me to just look at the taxi straight up. There he is.
Well,
If I just talk to him straight up. Phew, love this place. Can't have real Eastern soda without the wasabi. How about it, brothers? Care to take a seat and throw one back with your boy? Sorry, gonna have to take a rain check on that. Got some stuff to do today, involving you. Oh, we can talk with a topic to him. Oh, that car there is a checker pattern. That's gotta be it. That's the taxi. Driver's gotta be close. Let's sniff him out.
Let me ask you something.
Oh, Wealth isn't a big boy with a cute girl hugging his arm. Never thought you'd ask me about that name and notebook. One does never see, sir. Ah, looks like we found our guy. So word is you were scratching Dingo's back every now and then. Yep, I may not look it, but I used to run all over the Republic taking odd jobs on the down low. I was on this smuggling run once and bam, I bumped him right into him. That's how we met. That must have been, 10 years ago? Dingo would have been around 20, I think. Alright. So how do you know about how we got tangled up with our martyr back then, too? Oh my boy, do I ever. That was what led him to ask me for help out of the city that day. I snuck him out just like that. He hopped on a bus for Cray, and that was the last I saw of him. So you just got me out of the city, you didn't go all the way. In retrospect, I shouldn't have done it. I shouldn't have let his dumb ass do that. It wasn't your fault, Giordano. Don't beat yourself up over it. You weren't the one who killed him. It was our martyr. Not even. Dante's owned that, the shitheel. You're right, yeah. I already got what was coming to him at the old capital. Bet Dingo's laughing up there. I'm happy karma came round for the bastard. I hope it makes him feel better. He really regretted being the guy's broker in his past. Dante's really wasn't the same guy once he took over. So that's his background, huh? Not trying to justify him, but Dantes used to have a good rep on the streets. He had a code and he stuck to it. And that let people trust him. No wonder he ended up so popular with how much everybody hated the head honcho before him. He got Dingo hook, line, and sinker. Dingo was his informant, fed him the info we needed to bring the old guy down. Now instead, we have this monster he built. A monster? A fitting title for him. I'm not too privy to what happened beyond that, so I don't want to speculate. So you're looking for Dingo's old notebook, and you think I've got it? Bingo. Please, Matt, please have it. Well, I'd love to give it to you, but I'm afraid I can't. Why not? Is there something you wanted done first? What? Pretty boy say it was for your eyes only? Well, he told me to keep an eye out for this Spriggan guy and a newbie reporter. If anything happened to him, he wanted me to give this here key to whichever of you two I bump into first. A coin locker key? Oh, so what is this key for? Looks like a key for a station coin locker, like you see around the subway. Spot on, he said he'd stash it in the easiest locker he could find. I'm not sure what he meant by that though. I have no idea which station it's at. Got it. The easiest locker he could find? Where would that be? Well, that about gives it away. Huh? Oh, could it be the one by Van's office? Probably. Let's head on back and take a look. Thanks a bunch, Giordano. Maybe I'll make it up to you with a joyride one of these days when I feel like it. Hey, just call me anytime you're plastered and I'll be your DD. I'm happy with you being a designated driver.
Confirming your
You're a taxi
schedule.
driver. That's kind of your job. Subway entrance it is then.
Our way.
I thought the locker is for SPG.
What do I do?
Maybe. That key we got from the driver probably goes to one of the coin lockers here. What do you say? Should we check what's inside? Absolutely. I'm ready. Okay, let's head in. Marielle and the others found the coin lockers tucked away in a corner of the subway station. They located the one that corresponded with the key they held, finding a black leather notebook inside. The group then proceeded to move to a quiet location in order to inspect the contents of the notebook. This is something, alright. I didn't get to talk to Dingo much, but I know for a fact that he was an outstanding man. Indeed, not just anyone could pursue Almata to the degree he did without backup. It was probably his way of making amends for the role he played in Dantes' rise to power. These notes mention how the previous boss's family was murdered too. Even they didn't get spared. That's horrible. Such a heavy burden for him to carry. But that wasn't his fault. He couldn't have known that's what would happen. I can't imagine he felt like he could be in the public eye anymore after that. And that's why he took me under his wing. A good-for-nothing rookie. It appears he compiled quite a few notes about the ringleaders we took down in Oration as well. Yeah, let's take a look. Wow, we've got a full note session here. Viola, gender female, age 26. Originally from a minor noble family in the Quadas region in the Central East, her family fell into bankruptcy after Quadas' annexation by Valis. Viola herself being sold off to a wealthy merchant so they could make ends meet. She soon fell into the hands of a criminal organization that was targeting the merchant. Though initially nothing more than a plaything, an object of pleasure, she eventually managed to oust the boss and wrestle control into her own hands. Her brutal leadership reputation precedes her. When 2 years later the group tried to expand their influence into Calvard, they caught the attention of Armata. Conflict with them was brief as they were quickly obliterated by Dantes, to whom Viola swore loyalty afterward. As a consequence of her turbulent past, she's incredibly dependent on Dantes, which might be the reason she harbors a fierce rivalry with her fellow Melchior, their positions equivalent within the organization. Though the body of her needle gun was produced by Zect Arms, the full piece is not a part of their official lineup. Further research regarding the origin of her weapon is needed. Alexander. Gender male, age 35. Born in the former Principality of North Ambria and northwestern Zemuria, he was 5 years old when the Salt Pale appeared, sowing chaos in his homeland. Him and his father, then protectors of the ruling family, fled alongside Prince Balmond when he fled the country. Spent most of his childhood and adolescent years in the free city of Tazlem. Trained by his father in the traditional military arts of their homeland, he served the former ruling family until the age of 25, though his life was soon thrown into chaos. His father and he were both ordered to retake North Ambria following the death of the Northern Jaegers figurehead, the current ruler since Prince Balmond's escape. After their assault on North Ambria's capital, Haliask, they managed to seize and control the city for a time, acting as its effective government before being overthrown by the Northern Jaegers. This ensued a massacre of the remaining civilians in Haliask, mandated by the crazed former Prince Balmond. Standing in opposition with one another, Alexander and his father dueled to the death, Alexander emerging victorious before withdrawing from the battlefield. Though his current whereabouts are unknown, it is believed that Prince Balmond was swiftly and secretly executed by the Northern Jaegers following his capture. Wandering from one corps to another, Alexander was eventually scouted out by Dantes himself and brought into a leadership position within Armata. Though outwardly austere and restrained, he's merciless in combat, sparing none who dare cross him. His ultimate goal being the search for his final resting place, he has rejected any attempt to persuading him to leave Armata. Despite the mechanized gauntlet he wills not being part of their official lineup, it does appear that they were developed by Zect Arms. So there's a really big link between Zect Arms and Armata. More sponsors. Olympia. Female, age 19, little is known about her, although she allegedly hails from a remote village hidden in eastern Zemuria. Rumors say the entire village was comprised of heretical puppeteers who worshipped a doll made in the image of an angel. Thought to be an artifact of some sort, the doll was looked after by a medium. The village's gruesome customs mandated that those close to the medium were to be offered as sacrifices. These sacrifices spared no one, not friends nor family, though soon tragedy befell the village, leaving Olympia and the doll alone to wander the continent after the demise of all they knew. Multiple records suggest instances of criminals being slaughtered when encroaching on the wandering pair. She was later inducted into the Gardens, the assassin organization, and made overseer of the Garden of Aurum, though it appears she's been mostly left to her own devices after being invited by the other overseers. These include Melchior and the Emperor. If I were to guess, the incident that took place in her village led to her and the angel developing a psychologically interdependent relationship, resulting in her autonomy and emotional expression diminishing. In light of the crisis that's made the Gardens join forces, she may have a chance to reclaim that lost capacity, albeit an incredibly slim one. Ariosh. Male, age over 150. He knew this? In contrast to the known confirmed leaders of Armata and Garden Overseers, eyewitness reports of him are few. What we do know of him, the Garden of Russ Overseer, is that he's a very dangerous man, clad in heavy armor. Much of the information about him stretches belief, including how he was supposedly born in a different time period altogether, over 150 years ago. If he was, he's said to proceed from the mythical Holy Iskan Empire, an enormous nation believed to have laid just across the Tian Shan and Ishgal mountains to Calvar's east. This empire is presumed to have vanished following a calamity 130 years ago. In its heyday, 9 groups served to protect the royal imperial line. Eastern sources indicate that he was a warrior who represented the Rahu, a tribe of white descent hailing from the west. I'm inclined to believe it's all bullshit, but in an age where immortals like the Lance Maiden can exist in Erebonia, I can't rule out the possibility of there being some truth to it either. Whether it's true or not, evidence might suggest that his armor and his strangely shaped battle axe might be artifacts. Considering his journey in the gardens and the stories claiming his immortality, this might be highly likely. On top of that, he's the primary suspect regarding the Eisenschild's annihilation in the outskirts of Cray, though I still can't state that for a fact. More information is needed. And Melchior, last of all. Melchior, gender male, age 21, one of Armata's 3 pillars, and quite possibly its most evil and sinister member. He doubles down as the Garden's ringleader and overseer of the Garden of Thorns. Melchior's skills don't fall behind any of his artifact-wielding peers, being highly skilled in the use of the Orbal Net and being capable of infinitely spawning and freely controlling explosives. Beyond that, he also acts as Armata's main strategist and Dantes' right-hand man and confidant, and possibly his lover. Though his past is shrouded in mystery, his origins might trace back to the same organization the Oathbreaker, one of Ouroboros' Anguis, also comes from. The Order of the Moonlight Horse existed since the Middle Ages, where the Oathbringer sat among its top brass for the longest time before losing to Ouroboros and switching sides. He is an entirely different matter and a major threat all of his own. Just to point out that Dingo knew all of this before we did, and found it out from just beating the street with his feet. Wrapping this back around, Melchior might have been a direct subordinate of the Oathbreaker before going on to take in the scattered remnants of that infamous cult. If that's true, that would make him something of a prince of the underworld. For someone as powerful as him to idolize Dantes so much is nothing short of ominous and concerning, to say the least. Another thing that concerns me is him staying in Cray's vicinity following the Eisenschild turning into ghouls. Cray is not just some sleepy village with beautiful vistas. More than a touristic spot, it lies stuck between several forces working from the shadows. It also happens to be one of the few places in northern Calvard with a sizable eastern and central eastern population. Knowing the source of Armata's financing, actually I'd rather not speculate any further. Oh, Dantes has now showed up. Joe Dantes, male, age 34. If I let my feelings take way, Dantes could feel every single page in this notebook. There's not a night where I'm not overcome with regret, but this notebook is not meant for my personal thoughts. Most things I've come to learn about him in his life are at least a little eyebrow raising. Him being a member of the DG cult before joining Armata, being related to Calvard's old royal family, perhaps even a direct descendant. The tales of his sword are equally as hard to believe. A gigantic blade of black and silver thought to be an artifact hidden by the royal family. This demon blade was the instrument with which he slew Enrique, Armata's previous head. Hard as these tales are to believe, their true purpose is to strike fear into the hearts of those who hear them, and make Dantes nothing short of a living manifestation of shadows and agony. Deep as the abyss and equally as alluring, his unquenchable thirst for fear is what draws many to him. Seductive and enchanting, it has earned him many loyal followers. But where does such unfathomable hunger come from? A new hypothesis surfaced recently, which might finally explain things. Its source, however, is a little unusual and I'm not particularly keen to take it at face value. But that's neither here nor there. The more pressing matter is his goal in Basel, and that him and the others might have been after something else. His true goal, I imagine, fear. The want and need to bring about true dread and terror to the masses. He wasn't able to achieve it, even with the help of a genius, but that will not put a stop to him. He'll stop at nothing to achieve his mission. Looking into this matter should take priority. Regardless, he sure managed to pull a fast one on me in Farbad. I was distracted by that cool, but that's no excuse. I should have seen through him much sooner than I did. Try as he might to stay one step ahead, I'll forever be hot on his heels.
At this point, I've worked out how I'm going to get everything recorded, as well as how to leave these notes behind. Now comes the real showdown with him. It's going to be the biggest gamble I make as both a reporter and an information dealer. If, by some sheer miracle, I make it back in one piece, I'll absolutely be following up on those theories I've written about. I can already imagine the hell I'm in for with that dope of a Spriggan and that cub reporter. I really do worry about her. But you know what? At the end of the day, that's just part of the fun.
Dingo. Dingo!
You dumbass. Who's the real dope between us, huh?
This dude was totally nuts. How the hell did he find it in him to go that far? I can only imagine his love and care for others spurring him on to gather this much information. He was both a clever and kind man. And he wasn't just trying to make amends or settle a score. I don't doubt he genuinely worried for everyone's future. Goes without saying, but it's a true shame. He was taken from us far too young. I'm so glad you two were able to find his notes. Likewise, it must have been the will of the goddess. Once Marielle collected herself, the party drove her back to the Tyrell Times. After reporting their success to Editor-in-Chief Cunning, they got back to work. As for Dingo's notes, once the contents were copied, it was decided that Marielle would hold on to the originals for safekeeping.
That's a wrap. Ha! Love to see it.
Reward deposited.
Gray. Rank 4. We're neutral. 1 additional free time point was added for completing all the 4 SPGs. As intended, we got exactly what we wanted. And with that, we've reached Grey Alignment Rank 4, so there we go. Jobs are good, and I don't know if there's any more quests around for us to do, but that was the end of that.